Hello everyone, this is Norma Woodcock speaking to you from Perth in Western Australia. I would like to speak you to the first Sunday of Advent, Year A. The theme is Are You Awake? Advent is a time to prepare for Christmas, we know that, but it's also preparing for the second coming of Christ, and we need to be awake. In Isaiah, we hear Isaiah speaking of the day of the Lord, the day of peace. In Romans, St. Paul tells us the time has come. You must wake up now, our salvation is near. And in Matthew's Gospel, Jesus says, so stay awake, because you do not know the day when your master is coming. I want to focus particularly on one reason why we are not awake. And in Advent, it's important that we look at whatever the reasons are that prevent us from being fully alive, fully in tune, fully present. And the focus for me this day is on unforgiveness. I find it's across the board wherever I give presentations, whenever I speak about anger and resentment and bitterness and revenge and unforgiveness, I have many people will come and say to me, I needed to hear that and I needed to hear that. So on this first Sunday of Advent, Year A, let us just do a little bit of a teaching on unforgiveness. And as always, I like to share out of my own life, of the many experiences of my life. I can remember doing a professional development day with teachers and speaking on unforgiveness. And this teacher came to me at the end of the day and she said, I can't forgive that man who hurt my little girl. I can't go up to him and say, oh, I forgive you and I love you. And I said, that's not what I'm talking about. In that particular instance, what needs to happen is you choosing in the will to forgive, dust your hands off it, don't truck with it any longer, but look forward to a great future. And I could say that because that's what I've had to do in my own life, being abused quite severely, very severely as a little tiny, tiny girl. What do I do with all the unforgiveness and all the bitterness that's in my heart from all of those episodes? And the only thing that I could do and that I teach people to do is decide in my will to forgive, otherwise I will get sick and you will get sick, and then choose to move on. So there's a process. If we are choosing to move on from instances that we don't want to harbour any relationship with those people at all whatsoever, and this is the process. Forgiveness is in the will. God is our vindicator. We ask God to help us to choose to forgive and to heal the wounds inside us. We voice our forgiveness and then we choose to dust our hands of it and to move on to a great future. But there are many instances when we have been hurt by someone who's close to us. And there is a very difficult situation, isn't it? Because we have to live with that person. We have to choose to have a relationship with that person. So what do we do with that unforgiveness that's very deep in our hearts? Many, many years ago, my husband is very happy for me to share if it helps people, but I was pregnant and I was due to give birth and my husband had to go to a business meeting in another town in the city and I was in a country town. The doctors broke the waters. I was due to give birth and my husband said he'd be back that night and he didn't come back. And I went into labour and then the labour would cut out and I went into labour and the labour would cut out and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know where my husband was. And he chose to stay with the conference people that night and didn't come back till the next day. And by that stage, we found out the baby her forehead was against the pubic bone, my pubic bone, and she couldn't come out. And in those days, I'm going back now 50 years ago, the doctors in the country town were waiting for my husband to come home to give permission for the cesarean. And they got to the point where they couldn't wait and they raced in an anaesthetist for an emergency cesarean and they did the cesarean and the little baby only lived 7 hours. One of the greatest pains, I guess, in my entire life, that little baby girl didn't live. So there was such twisted bitterness and unforgiveness in my heart towards my husband. You may have that in your heart from a severe occasion, as I'm talking about a severe betrayal where somebody abandoned you and somebody wasn't there who said they were going to be there. Maybe the pain is so great that you don't even want to listen to this, but I want to tell you that I now have peace and joy. And it was a process for me, as it will be for you. But this is what I had to do. If I wanted to have a relationship with this man who was so good to me in so many ways and proved that goodness time and time again, I had to choose in my will to learn to forgive and to learn to trust again. And that is a process. And all you have to do is choose in your will. I choose to forgive this, and I choose you to heal the wounds inside me, and I choose, Jesus, for you to help me to trust and to love again. And I want to say to you, it is possible, and I want to say to you that I do have a life that is full and a life that is very present in the moment, and I am awake and I enjoy. So please, this week, focus on any unforgiveness that may be in your heart and ask God to bring you to a place where you can be awake, alive this first Advent in year A. God bless you. I look forward to talking to you again next week.